What if I told you that the absolute most boring, cliche, eye-rolling conversation topic in human history is it's actually a covert psychological tool?
I mean, I'd probably say you're exaggerating, but it's totally true.
Right. Seriously, think about it. You're standing in the office elevator or, maybe you're stuck waiting in a really long line at a coffee shop.
Oh, the classic coffee shop line.
Yeah, exactly. And you are shoulder to shoulder with someone you kind of know from accounting, but you don't really know them. And the silence just drags on.
It gets so heavy.
It gets super heavy. You start frantically searching your brain for something, literally anything, to say that won't feel completely forced or inappropriately personal.
It is a visceral kind of panic, isn't it? I mean, we are deeply social creatures.
Right.
So sitting in close proximity silence with an acquaintance, it actually triggers this mild threat response in the brain.
Wow, a threat response.
Yeah, we crave connection, but we are absolutely terrified of overstepping a boundary or, making some weird social misstep right out of the gate.
Exactly. Which is why today's deep dive is going to completely change how you view everyday small talk.
It really is.
We're looking at a fascinating stack of linguistic research and social psychology that points to a solution hiding right in plain sight. It is the one topic almost everyone mistakenly writes off as empty filler.
The dreaded filler.
The dreaded filler. I'm talking about the weather.
It gets such a bad reputation,
Oh, completely.
People routinely dismiss it as the lowest possible form of conversation. They think it's just what you say when your brain goes completely blank.
But the sources we're pulling from today, they argue the exact opposite. In English-speaking cultures especially, talking about the weather isn't filler at all.
No, not at all.
It is a social superpower. It's the ultimate social skeleton key. And it is arguably the safest possible way to initiate a conversation with a stranger or, a colleague.
Definitely the safest.
So our mission for you, listening right now, is to decode the hidden mechanics of this superpower. We're going to show you how to take a mundane observation about the sky and transform it into a genuine human connection.
And we really need to ground this right from the start, I think, because mastering this isn't about memorizing a list of meteorological vocabulary words so you can, sound like a local news anchor.
Right.
It's much deeper than that. This is about understanding human social dynamics. It's about reading the room, signaling your intentions, and understanding how human beings build trust through micro-interactions.
Micro-interactions, yeah.
Anthropologists actually call this phatic communion, which is just language used for general social bonding rather than conveying raw information.
Okay, let's unpack this right there, because the language itself is where the strategy begins.
It really is.
Because before you can wield this superpower, you need the right tools. I mean, if you walk up to that coworker in the elevator and simply say, it is hot today, or it is raining.
You're not doing much.
Right. You aren't actually building a connection. You're just giving them data.
Precisely. You are acting as a human thermometer.
A human thermometer. I love that.
Yeah, because saying it's hot is just a metric. Data is entirely closed off. It doesn't give the other person anything emotional or sensory to react to.
No, it really doesn't.
If you just state a fact about the temperature, the other person has nothing to do but nod and say, yes, it is. And then...
End of interaction.
Exactly. End of interaction. Awkward silence returns.
So how do native speakers actually do it? Well, our sources show they use highly descriptive words to intentionally set a mood.
They do.
They aren't trying to be perfectly accurate about the weather, right? They're trying to communicate an emotional state. So when it's incredibly hot and humid, they don't say very hot. They reach for a word like scorching or sweltering.
And notice the shift in impact there. When you say the word sweltering, you aren't just giving a temperature reading. You are communicating the feeling of the heavy air, the physical discomfort, the sweat. You are sharing a physical state of being.
It's very vivid.
Yeah, you transition from someone stating an objective fact to someone sharing a subjective experience.
It's giving the other person an emotional hook. Think about a word like gloomy. Our sources highlight how native speakers use gloomy for that dark, gray feeling when the sun just refuses to come out.
Oh, yeah. Such a specific feeling.
Yeah, you aren't just describing the lack of photons hitting the pavement, You're handing the other person an emotional state. You're subtly signaling, hey, I'm feeling a bit sluggish and tired today because of this weather.
And by doing that, you are giving them permission to feel sluggish, too.
Right.
It is essentially an act of empathy, sharing an experience, even a microscopic one, like noticing the heaviness of the humidity or the gloominess of a Tuesday afternoon. That is the foundational step in building rapport.
That makes so much sense.
And it works on the positive side, too. Native speakers won't just say the weather is good. They'll describe a perfect temperate day as mild or lovely, or they'll use that real talk phrase.
Oh, beautiful day, isn't it?
Exactly. Beautiful day, isn't it?
I love that. It's really the difference between handing someone a black and white sketch versus a full-color painting.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, like rain is a sketch. Drizzling or gloomy is a painting. The other person can actually step into that painting and feel it with you.
Exactly.
But here's the problem. Painting that vivid picture is great, but how do you actually get them to step into the painting? I mean, you can't just stand in the break room, lock eyes with accounting, and aggressively announce, it's sweltering.
Oh, no. No, you definitely shouldn't do that.
Right. It's weird.
It's very weird because that is entirely one-sided. You've thrown an observation at them, but you haven't built a bridge for them to cross over and join you in the conversation.
Which brings us to the secret sauce of English conversation. According to the research, the real trick is something called the question tag.
The question tag, yes. So crucial.
Yeah, this is when you add a tiny phrase like, isn't it or doesn't it, to the very end of your sentence. So instead of just saying, it's freezing today, you say, it's freezing today, isn't it?
The underlying psychology here is profound, honestly. The sources explicitly highlight that when you are talking about the weather in this context, you are absolutely not sharing news.
No.
Nobody is relying on you for the forecast. You both already know what the sky looks like, so what are you actually doing? You are looking for agreement.
Here's where it gets really interesting, and I actually have to stop you here and push back on this a little bit.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Because on the surface, this feels like a massive exaggeration, you know?
How so?
Well, you are telling me that adding two little words, just two syllables, fundamentally alters the social dynamic. Does a monologue instantly become a dialogue just because I tacked isn't it onto the end?
It sounds like a stretch, right?
That sounds almost too simple to be true. Like, I'm just extending this incredibly low-stakes digital handshake.
What's fascinating here is that your skepticism actually points to exactly why the strategy is so brilliant.
Wait, really?
Yeah. It sounds too simple, but psychologically, it completely shifts the burden of the conversation. Think of it like a game of catch.
Okay, game of catch.
If you walk up to someone and just declare, it's freezing today, you are basically throwing a bowling ball at them.
A bowling ball? Ouch.
Right. It's heavy, it's abrupt, and they have absolutely no idea how to catch it or what to do with it, so they just let it drop.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely see that.
But when you add isn't it, you swap the bowling ball for a tennis ball. You are gently lobbing it over the net. It's a slow, easy pitch that practically begs to be hit back. By changing the grammatical structure from a declarative statement into an interrogative one, you are handing them a tool to safely cross over to your side.
You are literally asking for their validation.
Exactly. You are transforming a boring meteorological observation into a completely safe, zero-pressure invitation to engage. You are saying, I am experiencing the world this way right now. Are you experiencing it this way too?
Wow. And because it's just the weather, the answer is always yes.
Always yes. You aren't asking them about politics or their profound personal struggles. You're just asking if the wind is strong.
It's a micro-trust building exercise.
Precisely.
Let's run through some of the specific variations the sources provide just so you can hear how this rhythm actually sounds in practice.
Good idea.
You could say, lovely weather we're having, isn't it? Or if the clouds are looking dark, looks like rain, doesn't it? Or if it's chaotic outside, that wind is quite strong, isn't it?
And notice the musicality of it.
Yeah, it has a rhythm.
It automatically softens the statement. It is incredibly polite because you are actively offering them the floor. It is the conversational equivalent of holding the door open for someone.
Okay, so let's say I've used a great descriptive word. I've lobbed the tennis ball with my question tag, and my coworker hits it back. They nod and say, yes, the wind is crazy today, isn't it?
Perfect.
I've successfully made contact. We agree. But now what? I mean, if I don't do something quickly, we're just going to end up staring at the elevator doors again.
That is the danger zone.
And honestly, that feels almost even worse than the initial silence. I can't just stand there and talk about the wind for the next 10 minutes.
That is the trap. If you stay on the topic of the weather for too long, the conversation completely stagnates.
Oh, yeah.
You will run out of things to say about precipitation in about 45 seconds.
Exactly.
And then the awkwardness you were trying to avoid will rush right back in. But this time you're both painfully aware of it because you are actively participating in a conversation that is rapidly dying.
Which brings us to the final and really most crucial maneuver. The sources call this the pivot.
Right, the pivot. You have to remember that the weather was never the destination.
It was just the start.
It was always a launching pad. The entire reason you initiated this phatic communion was to build enough microtrust to ask a personal question without seeming intrusive.
Let's look at how this works in practice, because the sources give us some fantastic examples of this transition.
They do. They're great examples.
So let's say you started with a sunny day observation. You use your question tag. You got agreement. You execute the pivot by saying, "It's so lovely out, isn't it? Do you have any outdoor plans for the weekend?"
Perfect pivot. Or consider the alternative scenario. It's a terrible stormy day. You've established that it's gloomy and drizzling.
The painting we talked about.
Right. So the pivot looks like this. "I'm so tired of this rain, aren't you? Are you doing anything fun to stay dry indoors this weekend?"
So what does this all mean? When I look at those two examples, I just marvel at the elegance of it.
It's very smooth.
It really is. You literally start by looking up at the sky, an object millions of miles away, and within 2 sentences, you end up talking intimately about their personal life, their hobbies, or, their weekend plans. And it is so smooth, they don't even realize a transition happened.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we can understand exactly why this pivot bypasses our natural social defenses.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Think about the cognitive load of sudden intimacy. If you were standing in dead silence in that elevator and suddenly turned to your colleague and blurted out, "What are you doing this weekend?"
Oh, man, their brain immediately flags it as a potential threat.
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely. My defenses would immediately go up. I'd be thinking, why do you want to know? Are you going to ask me to help you move a couch? Are you trying to hand me extra work? It feels like an interrogation.
Precisely. The human brain reacts defensively to sudden, unearned intimacy. We haven't established baseline trust, so a personal question feels invasive. But because you used the weather first, you established mutual agreement on a shared external reality. You both agreed that the sun is nice or that the rain is terrible.
You aligned yourselves.
You aligned yourselves. For a brief moment, you're on the same team facing the elements.
You built the bridge.
You built the bridge. And once that foundation of minor low-stakes agreement is established, asking about their weekend plans no longer feels like an interrogation.
It feels like a natural progression.
A natural, friendly, logical progression. You match the emotional valence of the weather to the tone of your question, so it feels like a continuation of the same thought. It is psychologically safe.
This is genuinely brilliant. It is a formula that takes you from complete awkward silence to a meaningful personal connection, all disguised as the most boring topic on earth.
It's social camouflage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, instead of just listing these steps out, let's show you what this sounds like. Let's roleplay the bad version first, the one we've all accidentally done.
Oh, I've definitely done it.
Right. Imagine we're at the coffee machine.
All right. I'm just pouring my coffee, staring at the wall.
So I walk up and I say, it is raining.
Yes, it is.
And then there's a pause and I go, what are you doing this weekend?
Nothing, just staying home.
Painful. Just absolute torture.
The bowling ball was dropped?
The bowling ball was dropped, the silence returned, and the sudden personal question felt like a demand for information.
Right.
Now let's do the good version using the 3 strategies. We upgrade the vocabulary, we use the question tag, and we execute the pivot.
All right, pouring my coffee again.
Wow, it is absolutely gloomy out there today, isn't it?
Oh, it really is. I'm so tired of the gray.
Me too.
Yeah.
Are you doing anything fun to stay cozy indoors this weekend?
Actually, yes. I'm planning to completely ignore the weather and binge watch a new documentary.
See the difference? It is night and day.
It really is.
The tennis ball was lobbed, caught, and returned. The emotional state was shared, the agreement was secured, and the pivot felt incredibly natural.
It is a beautifully constructed social mechanism. And it highlights why the conventional wisdom about small talk is often completely wrong.
Yeah. What do people usually say?
People will tell you to avoid the weather, to talk about big ideas, or skip straight to deep subjects. But this deep dive proves that talking about the weather is a highly practical, real-world tool.
Exactly. Do not fear this topic.
Embrace it.
Yeah, if you are learning English or, if you just struggle with social anxiety at the office networking event, this is the safest, most reliable way to practice forming connections.
Absolutely.
It relies on the one thing that we all undeniably share, regardless of our backgrounds, our beliefs, or our positions in the company hierarchy. We all have to deal with the sky.
We do.
So your homework for today is simple. Step outside, take a good look at the weather, find the most emotionally descriptive word you can for what you see, and go test this strategy today.
Go for it.
Find a colleague, lob that conversational tennis ball with a question tag, and see where the pivot takes you.
Though, if we really think about it, this does leave us with one final, very modern complication to consider.
Oh, what's that?
Well, this entire weather talk strategy works so perfectly and so reliably because the sky above us is an inescapable shared physical reality.
Right.
When you are in the elevator together, you are experiencing the exact same temperature, the exact same rain. The baseline trust is built on a shared physical environment.
Yeah, you're physically there together.
But as our workplaces become increasingly virtual and as we spend our days logging onto global calls, we lose that.
Oh, wow. That's true.
How do we recreate that instant universal social bridge when the colleague on the other end of the screen is sitting under an entirely different sky?
That is a fascinating problem to navigate.
Yeah.
I mean, if the weather is the ultimate social skeleton key, what do you do when everyone is locked behind entirely different doors in entirely different time zones?
It's definitely something to think about.
It's something to chew on the next time you boot up a video call and just stare at a grid of silent faces. Keep analyzing those everyday interactions. Keep practicing your pivots, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.